Let's get one thing straight, love is not supposed to hurt like this. If you're constantly questioning where you stand, then you already know the answer. This is not partnership. It's a prison dressed up as romance. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're waking up to the truth. Because when someone is truly your partner, you don't feel smaller. You don't feel silenced. You don't feel alone. But if you do, then listen closely. Here are the 7 undeniable signs your partner is not your partner. If you have to constantly explain your worth to someone, you're already in the wrong relationship. Love doesn't require justification. It doesn't demand constant defense. When someone truly values you, they don't need a presentation to understand your greatness, they feel it. They see it. And more importantly, they respect it. But if you're spending your days trying to convince your partner that you're enough, that you're not too much, or that you deserve their time and effort, then what you're really doing is negotiating survival. And that's not what love looks like. That's not a partnership. That's emotional warfare dressed up as commitment. Think about it. Are you constantly rephrasing your needs so they'll finally get it? Are you walking on verbal tightropes, softening your truth just to avoid their defensiveness? That's not communication, that's fear. When you're with someone who doesn't see your value, your words are never quite enough. Your silence is too loud, your presence is too demanding, and boundaries are too much. You become the problem every time. As a reflection of their inability to love you properly. You shouldn't need to keep translating your worth into a language they refuse to understand. This constant explaining isn't just tiring, it's soul-breaking. Over time, it chips away at your self-belief. You start questioning yourself, am I asking for too much? Maybe I'm hard to love? No, you're not asking for too much. You're asking the wrong person. When you're in the right relationship, you don't feel like a burden. You feel like a blessing. You don't feel like a project, they see you as a partner. But when your worth is up for debate in your own relationship, you're not in love, you're in a courtroom, constantly defending your humanity. And let's not sugarcoat it, this kind of dynamic is manipulative. When someone needs you to explain over and over again why you deserve kindness, respect, time, or basic emotional effort, they're not confused or controlling the narrative. They benefit from your confusion. They like you in a place of doubt. Because doubt keeps you working harder to earn what should already be given freely. This is not about love. This is about power. The more you feel unsure of yourself, the easier it is for them to keep you exactly where they want you, dependent on crumbs. You need to understand something powerful. Your value doesn't decrease just because someone else refuses to recognize it. It doesn't vanish because they can't see it. You don't become less because they love you less. Their inability to love you deeply does not reflect your capacity to be loved. Sometimes people are too broken to hold something whole. Sometimes people haven't met their own worth, so they can't meet yours either. But that's their journey, not yours. Stop shrinking yourself just to fit into someone else's limited vision. You were not made to be overlooked. And here's the hard truth most people avoid. If you have to keep explaining your worth, it's because you're trying to stay where you're not valued. You're trying to force something that was never meant to be forced. And love, real love, doesn't require force. It flows. It expands. It eases you. It hears you the first time. And if you're not experiencing that, the most loving thing you're not explaining, and start walking. Not because you're giving up, but because you're finally choosing you. When you achieve something, no matter how big or small, it deserves to be seen, celebrated, acknowledged. Because what we achieve is not just about success, it's about growth. It's proof that we pushed past our fear, our doubt, our limits. And when your partner shrinks in the face of your success, when they go quiet, change the subject, or offer faint praise that feels more like obligation than pride, you're not just dealing with indifference. You're standing face to face with envy dressed as love. The kind of envy that can't stand to see you rise because your rise reminds them of everything they've yet to become. True partnership means standing beside each other, not behind or in front. It's clapping the loudest when your person wins. It's beaming with pride when they're recognized. It's knowing that their shine doesn't dim yours, it expands it. But when your wins are met with cold silence or a passive-aggressive comment, understand this. They don't see your victories as ours, they see them as threats. And that's not just sad, that's dangerous. Because when someone resents your light, they'll slowly try to into the dark. Not always obviously, not always loudly, but subtly. Consider you're questioning whether you should even share your joy at all. It starts to chip away at you. You begin to second guess whether it's safe to express excitement. You downplay your accomplishments, laugh them off, or keep them to yourself. And that's not humility, it's fear. It's emotional self-censorship, and it's toxic. Because you weren't meant to dim your brilliance just to make someone else feel comfortable. Love that's threatened by your growth is not love, it's insecurity in disguise. And if you're constantly managing their ego instead of celebrating your milestones, you're not in a partnership, you're in a performance where their comfort is the star of the show. Let's be clear, someone who can't celebrate you will eventually start to compete with you. They'll mirror your ideas and call them their own. They'll make subtle comparisons to bring you down a notch. They'll remind you of your failures in moments that should belong to your success. Why? Because the higher you climb, the more they fear losing control. And if their love is based on having the upper hand, your success becomes their biggest threat. So instead of rising with you, they dig their heels in and wait for you to fall. Because to them, your fall restores balance, but to you it feels like betrayal. You deserve a partner who claps when no one else does. Who sees your ambition as inspiring, not intimidating. Who isn't just present when you struggle, but thrives in your glow. Because real love doesn't just comfort you in failure, it celebrates you in victory. And if they only show up when you're broken, but disappear when you shine, they were never in love with you, they were in love with your need for them. That's not support. That's dependency. That's a relationship built on imbalance, and it can never sustain the weight of true growth. And here's what hurts the most. When you love someone, you want them to be proud of you. Their silence doesn't just feel cold, it feels like abandonment. It makes your achievements feel hollow. But the truth is, you should never have to hide your light to keep someone by your side. A real partner isn't just a witness to your evolution, they're a fan of it. They cheer you on not because they have to, but because your growth is a reflection of what you're building together. And if they can't stand in that with you, then they were never standing with you at all. Love should never feel like a weight on your chest. If you're constantly exhausted, emotionally drained, and mentally depleted, something is deeply wrong. Relationships are meant to be a place of restoration, not another battlefield. And yet too many people stay in relationships where they feel more tired than loved. Where every conversation is a minefield, every interaction leaves them questioning their worth. And every day becomes a cycle of giving more and receiving less. You weren't created to pour endlessly into someone who won't even lift a finger to pour back into you. That's not love, that's depletion. When you're constantly tired in a relationship, it's not just physical. It's a soul deep fatigue. The kind that doesn't go away with sleep or time off. It's the kind of exhaustion that comes from being emotionally unsupported, unseen and unappreciated. You become the therapist, the motivator, the problem solver, the emotional anchor, while your own needs are pushed to the back burner. And the worst part, you start to normalize it. You convince yourself this is just how love works, that it's your role to hold everything together, but it's not. That's not balance. That's emotional servitude. There's a difference between effort and exhaustion. Love requires work, yes, but it should never require you to constantly sacrifice your peace, your joy, or your health when love becomes a full-time job without breaks or benefits. You're not in a partnership, you're in a role you didn't sign up for. And the longer you stay, the more you begin to forget what ease even feels like. You begin to associate love with tension, connection with anxiety. You lose the ability to relax around the one person who's supposed to be your safe space. That's not just tragic, it's dangerous. Real partnership feels like exhale. It's where your soul can rest. You don't have to perform. You don't have to prove. You don't have to carry the emotional weight of two people. In a healthy relationship, love fills your cup, it doesn't drain it dry. But when your partner consistently takes more than they give, it creates a power imbalance that leads to burnout. And you find yourself feeling constantly on edge, emotionally overdrawn and silently resentful. That's not a phase. That's a red flag waving right in front of your eyes, asking how much longer will you deny your own depletion. You start noticing it in the little things. You stop smiling the way you used to. You feel heavy before phone calls. You dread conversations instead of looking forward to them. You fake energy, fake laughter, fake fine because somewhere deep down you know that honesty won't be met with care, only conflict. You keep showing up, but you're not really there anymore. And slowly, without realizing it, the relationship that was supposed to bring you closer has started pulling you further from yourself. That kind of fatigue doesn't come from love, it comes from carrying what was never yours to carry alone. You need to understand this. You are not hard to love. You are not asking for too much. You are asking for exactly what you deserve: peace, presence, partnership. And if that request leaves you empty every time, it's not your standards that are too high. It's that the person you're with refuses to rise to meet them. Love should never feel like burnout. It should never leave you constantly empty while the other walks freely, fueled by your energy. You deserve someone who brings you peace, not pressure. Someone who fills your life, not drains your soul. If your boundaries are constantly being tested, pushed or flat out ignored, then your partner is not your partner. They are an opponent wearing the mask of intimacy. Love respects limits. It hears no and doesn't need a justification. It sees the lines you draw to protect your mental, emotional, and physical well-being, and it honors them. But when someone continuously steps over those lines, dismisses your discomfort, or makes you feel guilty for protecting yourself, they are not loving you. They are controlling you. And no matter how gently they do it, control is not compassion. It often starts with small things. Maybe you say you need space, and they show up anyway. Maybe you set a clear boundary around communication, and they mock it as being too sensitive or too dramatic. They'll smile while doing it, joke their way through the discomfort, make you feel like the unreasonable one. This is not harmless. This is how emotional boundaries are slowly erased through laughter, guilt, and gaslighting. It's manipulative, it's subtle, and it's incredibly damaging. Because what they're really saying is, my comfort matters more than your boundaries. And over time, that message starts to rewire your sense of what's normal. You begin to doubt yourself. You hesitate before expressing discomfort. You second guess your need you have, wondering if you're asking for too much. And little by little, you stop setting boundaries at all. Not because you're okay with everything, but because you're too exhausted to fight. You know what comes next? The eye rolls, the accusations, the cold shoulder, the emotional withdrawal. So you stay quiet. You keep the peace by losing pieces of yourself. And that's the most dangerous cost of boundary erosion, the slow disappearance of your own voice. Healthy love doesn't require you to sacrifice your needs to maintain connection. In fact, it welcomes your boundaries. It sees them as a form of self-respect, not rejection. A true partner doesn't view your limits as an obstacle to intimacy, they view them as a roadmap to trust. They understand that honoring your no builds safety, and that safety is the foundation of lasting love. But someone who constantly dismisses your boundaries is not looking to build, they're looking to dominate. They want love on their terms, under their control, within their comfort zone. And that's not a partnership. That's a dictatorship. There's a myth that love should be all giving, all sacrificing, endlessly forgiving. But that's not love. That's martyrdom. Love is not about losing yourself to make another person feel whole. It's not about bending until you break. Love is about mutual respect, equal space, shared growth. If your partner can't handle your no, they don't deserve your yes. If they get angry when you speak your truth, they were never interested in the real you to begin with. They were only interested in the version of you that makes them comfortable. And the truth is, someone who truly loves you will never make you feel guilty for protecting your peace. They will never weaponize your boundaries against you. They won't call you selfish for needing time, space, or emotional clarity. Instead, they will listen, they will adjust, they will make room. Because love, real love, is not about ownership, it's about partnership. It's not about molding someone into your ideal, it's about respecting them as they are, including the spaces they guard. If your partner constantly tests your boundaries, they're not trying to love you better. They're trying to see how much of yourself you're willing to give up to stay when the person you love constantly makes you feel small. The relationship becomes a quiet battlefield. Not with shouting, not always with cruel words, but with subtle digs, passive remarks, and the slow erosion of your confidence. They question your choices, belittle your ideas, and make you feel foolish for dreaming big. What once felt like companionship now feels like criticism dressed as concern. And over time, you start shrinking to fit inside the version of yourself they can tolerate. A version that doesn't challenge them. A version that doesn't shine too brightly. A version that fits neatly inside their comfort zone. It's not always loud. It's often in the tone, the rolled eyes, the sarcastic laughs when you share your goals, the dismissive phrases, "That's not realistic, you're too much, calm down." And suddenly your joy becomes a trigger. Your ambition becomes an annoyance. Instead of being met with support, you're met with doubt. And doubt from the person you love doesn't just hurt, it rewires your self-worth. You stop trusting your instincts, you stop sharing your wins. Because deep down you've been trained to believe that your bigness is a problem. And that belief is a prison. Say, when someone constantly makes you feel small, they're not just attacking your confidence, they're attacking your identity. They may never say it outright, but their actions scream, "Stay in your place." And what they really mean is, "Stay beneath me." Because someone who feels threatened by your growth will never encourage it. They'll challenge your intelligence, invalidate your feelings, and make you question your very perception. That's not protection. That's power. And love that thrives on power imbalances is not love, it's emotional warfare. The worst part is you start believing them. You begin to internalize their voice as your own. The voice that says you're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough. And before you know it, you're editing yourself in real time. Watering down your words. Silencing your fire. Making yourself palatable for someone who's only comfortable when you're playing small. That's not compromise, that's erasure. And the more you erase yourself to be loved, the less of you is left to love. It's a loss that doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly, invisibly, and tragically. In a healthy relationship, your light is welcomed, not dimmed. Your boldness is celebrated, not criticized. Real love doesn't compete with you, it complements you. It says, be bigger and I'll rise with you. It doesn't require you to choose between love and self-respect. It doesn't force you to shrink to avoid conflict. Instead, it expands with you. It evolves as you evolve. And it holds space for your full self, not just the parts that feel convenient or safe. If you have to minimize your voice to maintain peace, you're not in love. You're in a silent surrender. And here's what you must understand. No one who truly values you will ever make you feel like you're too much, too ambitious, too passionate, too loud. That narrative is built by people who fear what they can't control. People who see your confidence as a threat instead of a gift. But your fire isn't the problem, it's their inability to handle the heat. You weren't born to be digestible. You were born to be whole. And if someone makes you feel like you have to fragment yourself just to be loved, they don't deserve a place in your life, because real love sees you fully and stands beside you, not above you. When someone truly loves you, they want to understand you. They want to know what keeps you up at night, what drives you, what scares you, what lights your soul on fire. Love leans in. It listens even when the conversation is uncomfortable. It stays, even your truths aren't easy to hear. But if your partner avoids real conversations, dodges accountability, that narrative is built by people who fear what they can't control. People who see your confidence as a threat instead of a gift. But your fire isn't the problem, it's their inability to handle the heat. You weren't born to be digestible. You were born to be whole. And if someone makes you feel like you have to fragment yourself just to be loved, they don't deserve a place in your life, because real love sees you fully and stands beside you, not above you. When someone truly loves you, they want to understand you. They want to know what keeps you up at night, what drives you, what scares you, what lights your soul on fire. Love leans in. It listens even when the conversation is uncomfortable. It stays, even your truths aren't easy to hear. But if your partner avoids real conversations, dodges accountability, you'll bring up something that hurt you, and they'll change the subject. You'll express a need, and they'll disappear emotionally. You'll ask for clarity, and they'll give you confusion. This kind of emotional shutdown isn't just frustrating, it's manipulative. It teaches you to stop asking questions. It trains you to stop expressing your truth. You begin to walk on eggshells, afraid that one wrong word will push them away. So you bottle it up, you hold it in, until you're overflowing with things you were never allowed to say. Over time, communication becomes a performance. You start filtering your thoughts, editing your words, managing their reactions instead of expressing your reality. And in doing so, you start to lose intimacy, not just with them, but with yourself. Because every time you stay silent to keep the peace, you betray your own voice. You become a shell of the person you were: quiet, careful, compliant. And here's the truth: someone who avoids emotional depth will never truly meet you where you are. They'll stay at the surface and expect you to join them. But surface love doesn't satisfy the soul. You can't build a future on empty conversations and shallow intimacy. You need depth. You need transparency. You need someone who's not afraid to go there, to ask, to listen, to understand. Because love without communication isn't love. It's silence. It's guessing. It's emotional isolation dressed up as connection. And if your partner refuses to talk about the real things, you'll always feel alone, even when you're standing right beside them. Oh, here's the truth you can no longer ignore. If they drain your energy, dim your light, disrespect your boundaries, and silence your voice, they are not your partner. They might be present in your life, but they are absent where it matters most, in the heart, in the effort, in the soul. A real partner doesn't make you question your worth. A real partner doesn't need you to shrink to be loved. A real partner doesn't fear deep conversations, they welcome them. Because they want to know you, not just be around you. Stop mistaking attachment for alignment. Stop confusing their comfort with your commitment. Love should not feel like endurance. It should feel like expansion, like breath, like home. If it constantly hurts, it's not working. If you're constantly explaining your value, it's not love, it's survival. And you are not born to survive in someone else's presence. You were born to rise with someone who matches your truth, not manipulates it. So if you see these signs, don't silence them. Don't wait for them to change. It calls you back home to yourself. You deserve a partner who lifts you, sees you, respects you, chooses you not just in words but in actions. Every single day. Now ask yourself the question that matters most: are you with a real partner or just someone holding a place where love was supposed to be?